Hola pessoal. Happy New Year, hope you've all had a great start to it because it's time for another rambling video about character interactions in Don't Starve Together. For some reason you guys seem to really like these videos, so I wanted to do something special for the third one in our little series. Today we're going to be looking over interactions for characters that never actually appear in Don't Starve Together. So the expansion characters from Shipwrecked and Hamlet. I kind of did this in my Should They Add Shipwrecked Characters video, but today we'll be focusing way more detail on just their interactions, as well as going over the Hamlet cast, obviously. But Ash, you scream at me, it's impossible to say how these characters interact with each other in game, since there's absolutely no quotes to go off. Correct. So what we're going to be doing is assessing their character and making a bunch of silly headcanons, just like always. So take literally everything I say with a grain of salt, because besides the characterizations, absolutely none of these interactions are true or even will be true. Unless, Clay, if you're listening, you'll wanna. Anyway, this video was, like previous videos, suggested to me on my Discord. I love to get you guys involved in these videos, so massive thanks to, this was Keisia's idea. Thank you, bestie. Let's start with the first DLC character added to the game, Wilfred. Wait, I mean the first not playable in DST character, Walani. Fan favourite, this woman. She's the first of 3 Shipwrecked characters we'll be looking at today. It would be 4, but Warley made the cut to DST. She's a chill girl who has a love for surfing, drying off really fast, and being lazy. Mad respect for that. But today isn't about their abilities, it's about what characters would like and dislike them. As you can see from her quotes, and even her character description in-game, she's chill. Unless you ignore those moments where she goes feral during combat. Those are understandable. So we need to think what other characters are laid back, but also energetic when the moment calls for it. Look, I'm not doing this for anyone out there in particular, but I can definitely see her and Willow getting along super well. Willow is chill, in the sense that she's not really taking this whole survival, everything is a matter of life and death thing too seriously. And she's energetic with the whole girl hobby she has. It's a popular ship for a reason, and I can totally see it. Just 2 girls, probably around the same age, who both want to push Maxwell down the stairs and call him trash. Though, I have also heard people say that their personalities might clash a little bit, but what do you think? Are you team for, or are you team against? Let me know in the comments down below. But do you know who else I think you'd get along really well with? Wilfred. Why? Because Walani goes absolutely ballistic when she's fighting stuff. And that kind of energy would be seen as admirable by the person whose entire personality is about going ballistic when fighting things. But will Walani tolerate Wilfred's crazy Valkyrie warrior persona? Look, I see Walani as the kind of person who tolerates and respects you no matter what, as long as you're not like a racist or something. So she will just be all like, you do you, queen. Love her for that. To be fair, I just see her getting along well with everyone, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you. She'd call Wickerbottom and Wanda Grammy, she'll ruffle the fuzz on Webber's head and call the kiddos little guys, and she'll chuck back a vegetable stinger with Winona after a long day of work, whilst also calling her a capitalist pig / half joking. Hard to say there's anyone out there she wouldn't like, besides Maxwell for, well, obvious reasons, especially if she's just dumped into the world of DST in the current phase in the story, and probably also Wagstaff for being a big mysterious dweeb. Oh, but how could I forget? She'd probably be super happy to see Warley too. I know they technically never interacted in Shipwrecked, but I like to think of all the DLC casts from their respective DLC knew each other and hung out to some extent. Am I speaking pure nonsense? Most likely. They could have at least bonded about how weird the Shipwrecked Islands were compared to the forest they'd be stuck in with DST. So that's Walani. Super chill girl, probably likes everyone, not much else to say really. So how about we move on to the next Shipwrecked character and a personal favourite of mine, Woodlegs. Cool pirate dude with a ship and most of his body missing. What's not to love about him? Now, Woodlegs himself is a crazy old codger, and sadly one of those characters that suffer from gimmick syndrome, where everything and anything he talks about is how he is a pirate. But thankfully for us, that's a cool enough thing to be crazy about. He isn't the smartest bulb in the box either, calling science an up-and-coming thing when inspecting any of these science labs, so I think it's safe to say a lot of the brainy survivors wouldn't be too relatable with him, like Wilson and maybe even Winona. I don't think Winona would like Woodlegs for the fair reason of pirates never work an honest day in their life, and she's old Miss Honest Day Work. As for Wilson, He would tell Woodlegs some science mumbo-jumbo and Woodlegs would just be all confused by what on earth this man just tried to tell him. Wouldn't dislike the guy necessarily, but would just avoid him out of the care of not getting a headache. One more person he wouldn't get along well with 100%? WX-78. Why? Because that robot hates the ocean and anything to do with it. Woodlegs would probably take that personally and just berate the tin person whenever chance they get. Or Woodlegs would just spend so long out at sea deliberately so he didn't have to interact with WX. Brutal? Yeah. But come on, like the ocean is Woodlegs' livelihood. You think he's gonna take that sitting down? Now, for the people he would get along well with, how about we take a step back and analyse Woodlegs some more? What is this guy mostly made of, including his tongue apparently? What does this guy make all of his ships out of? And more importantly, what does he have in his name? That's right, legs. I mean wood. Know who else has wood in their name and likes wood? Wormwood. I mean Woody. Now come on, I bet these two would get along super well. Woody would be fascinated with his wooden body parts and the craftwork on his pirate ship, and Woodlegs would admire a guy that can take care of some fine craftsmanship himself. Bet he'd like to make him some new peg legs, huh? The hit new ship to hit the DST community, Woodwood, and I ain't talking about boats. Oh, we should also throw some consideration to that crazy theory that Woodlegs actually comes from the future. You know, specifically for his quotes about waffles coming from packets. Look, don't ask, it's a crazy theory and it might have some Woodlegs to stand on. If that theory is true, however, then old man Wanda and Woodlegs would definitely get along. If, you know, Wanda is actually able to time travel forward and not just backwards. We don't know that yet, do we? Oh, and yeah, the kids would probably love him too. Like a cool grandpa who is an actual pirate. Wilbur and Wendy can finally play pirates for realsies this time. Other honourable mentions would probably be Wickerbottom, who they'd probably talk about their age a bunch and even offer to give Woodlegs lessons in literacy, as well as Wonky, funnily enough, since they're a cursed monkey from a band of cursed pirate monkeys. That's something in common, right? Or is it just a reason to dislike them? But we forgot that one very important interaction. The one between him and Warley. You see, Warley occasionally mentions having negative run-ins with pirates in his life as he worked on ships. So how would the man tolerate an actual pirate? Probably not very well, but if we go back to what I said earlier, how I think these shipwrecked survivors could remember each other or even bond over their time on the shipwrecked islands, maybe, just maybe Warley could make an exception for one pirate. Just this once. But that's all of the important shipwrecked survivors done. So, that means it's time for Wilbur now. Like, I don't know, it's just a silly monkey. Most survivors would be mildly bemused by the prospects of an intelligent monkey among their ranks, but not surprised since it's the second time that's happened. I guess Wilbur and Wonky would hold deep conversations the world is not ready for. But yeah, not much to say about him, sadly. Sorry Wilbur, I still love you. But not as much as I love that Hamlet gang. Ah, good old Hamlet. That expansion I am yet to actually fully play properly. But that still doesn't mean I can't make theories about the characters thanks to the vaults of knowledge I hold at my fingertips, and by that I mean scrolling through their quotes on the wiki. Hamlet introduced 3 new characters to the game, Wormwood, Wheeler and Wilbur. One of those is already well and truly in DST, so that leaves us with these 2. Who shall we start with first? How about Maybelle Dorothea Wheeler? Yes, we know her government name. First time actually talking about her, Wheeler is a witty, energetic adventurer who yearns for danger and the ability to fly. Her overall personality is rather inoffensive. She's high-spirited, bubbly, and cares only for adventure. Also, she has a gun and loves shooting everything with it. So, what other character is a brave adventurer with a knack for exploration and also a projectile weapon? Walter, of course. I made this connection in the past, but it's just too easy to pass up. Both brave explorers, both energetic, both like shooting things. What's not to like? Walter would look up to this woman so much, and Wheeler would adore how he would be interested in all of her stories, no matter how embezzled they may or may not be. Other than Walter though, maybe the other kids too, since she has a lot of cool stories to tell them. I'm sure Wirt would look up to her stories like she was a cool aunt or something. But besides that, I'm kind of stumped. She's a super interesting character and fulfills a niche no other character really falls into from a personality standpoint, which makes her just an honestly agreeable person all around. so I bet her and Wilson would get along really well. Just in general, inoffensive people kinda get along well with everybody, but especially other inoffensive people. Look, sadly these Hamlet characters are my weakest subject, which is why I'd love for you guys to help me fill in the blanks here. With the other DST characters, it's way easier to think about how they interact because they interact, but for these characters, not even a suggestion. So let me know who you'd think these guys would get along well with and who they wouldn't get along well with. Now, speaking of that, I should probably mention who Wheeler wouldn't get along well with. Maxwell, but that's a given. Maybe someone like Wartox, because she dislikes pan flute music and massively envies his ability to teleport and travel wherever he pleases. Wheeler yearns for the ability to fly and go everywhere. It should have been her with the teleportation magic, gosh darn it. She still wouldn't hate him, just, you know, madly jealous of him. And finally, do you think she would recognise Wormwood? Little Plant Guy is more than iconic, so she would be super happy to see him again, and likewise in return. Who wouldn't love the Little Plant Guy? And who could forget the sentient talking tree flower in a world full of already weird and wonderful things? Assuming they met in the past, at least. But now it's time for the final Hamlet character, one I know almost nothing about. Wilbur. This playable pigman has the powers of nobility, as well as the exact same kind of curse Woody has. So, do you know what that means? Of course those two would get along. They would bond over the fact they both have an incurable wear curse that forces them into a hairy beastie every full moon, or if they indulge in too much monster meat. Woody himself would be especially interested in that silver necklace Wilbur has that can somehow mask the curse. Why can't he get one of those? If he wants to stop his curse, all he needs to do is kill God and then force an old man to do it. But I got ahead of myself. I forgot to talk about Wilbur's personality. Because, it's a strange one. She speaks in some form of broken Old English and is very literal with a lot of her words. A very decadent way of speaking. Might be interesting to survivors such as Wickerbottom, since it would remind her of old Shakespeare books. And honestly, even Wigfrid might get along well with her too, since her old-timey noble way of speaking might remind her of the performances she once headlined back in the day. However, it's time we talk about the big question of the day. The elephant in the room: how would Wirt tolerate her? Well, a good thing to preface this is that there are no merms in Hamlet whatsoever. So Wilbur, and by extension the royal family of pigmen that live on the Hamlet range, shouldn't really hold any vitriol towards merms, as they're not native to Hamlet. Of course, Wilbur can interact with merms thanks to being able to travel between expansions in single player, but her remarks towards merms are nothing that would allude to any rivalry between them. Just calls them mermaids and unpigs, and she calls several things unpigs. So it's safe to say, Wilbur wouldn't hold any form of grudge towards Wirt for who she is, and would probably just see her as a slightly greener survivor. But can the same be said for Wirt? You know, the green terror herself, the one who laughs at the sight of beheaded pigmen, the one who wants to wage full-on war against them? Would she tolerate Wilbur? Well, no, of course she wouldn't, but she's going to have to. The other survivors will have to do everything they can to make sure Wirt can tolerate this pig girl. Otherwise the camp is going to be a little bit messy. Do you think it's possible? Do you think Wickerbottom could convince her diseased child to look past her hatred? It's possible the Hamlet pigmen would tolerate merms, and it's only the constant ones Wirt should hate. Maybe, just maybe, she could eventually learn to survive not alongside a pigman, but alongside a friend. Or Wirt would just keep biting and growling at her. One of the two. And that's all of the DLC characters that never made it to DST. This has been fun talking about, and wait, do you guys hear that? That annoying prattling? Oh, it's Wagstaff. You know, I always forget about this guy. But you know what, though? We're gonna save his opinions on the survivors for his own dedicated video, just like we did for Charlie. He's a much more important character in the lore, so he deserves a whole video dedicated to his stance on every single survivor. Plus, he's technically not a DLC character, so he won't fit in this video anyway. I love being semantic. For now, how about we... You. So, for those who ain't in the know, this creature is Warbucks. He was the first and only removed character from the game. His story is one for another day, but he was originally going to be launched with Hamlet, but was gutted before the expansion was finished, thankfully. His personality is this British explorer, think that one guy from Jumanji. He's all about treasure hunting and saying questionable things about the locals. Honestly, I don't even know why I put him in this video. I think all of the survivors would just beat him with hammers. Even Wheeler, a fellow explorer, wouldn't want to put up with his plundering ways. Maybe Maxwell could befriend him, but I'd certainly hope not. I don't think he would stoop to the level of colonizer. I really got to do a full video on this dark part of the Don't Starve history soon, don't I? Maybe next time. Honestly, it wasn't even that bad either way, I'm just playing it up a little bit. But for now, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed all my silly headcanons, and please don't forget, they are all just those. None of these individuals have, or most likely will ever interact, so all we got is our crazy imaginations. But it was fun either way. Let me know your guys' headcanons down below and on the Discord. For now though, I gotta head out. Thank you guys for watching and hanging around for as long as you have, especially all the channel members. I love all of you so much. And even the non-channel members, I ain't picking favourites here. I hope you all had an amazing holiday season, and I hope you have a wonderful day right now. Bye bye everybody. Thanks again Keisia for the help.